Breakthrough Studios, the AusBiz COB is the key stuff you need to know about the day in business and finance.
Hello and welcome to the COB on this Wednesday afternoon. I'm Nadine Blaney.
And I'm Juliet Sally, and you have kind of dressed in theme. Do we call that green? I think we do. It's
We can call it green.
Green as we head towards record highs. We've not quite made it, Nadine, but it did look like that around 233, that maybe we would. Up 0.7% though, and this is all, of course, as we bet, although we did do this last month too, that there will be a rate cut in August.
Yeah, you can see just post 11:30, equities responding to that lower than expected inflation read. We also have the Fed coming up tonight. We're seeing a little bit of a drift in the US dollar ahead of that, but the S&P ASX 200 at 8,761. E-minis in the States, FYI, are doing pretty well, both S&P and NASDAQ. But a lot to happen in terms of risk still to end this week.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been, though, a day where the bulls are in charge, with us getting towards that record high, and this on this anticipation of an August cut. And I was talking to Phil O'Donoghue from Deutsche Bank straight after the CPI print. Thank you, Phil, for joining us when so many economists didn't want to 10 minutes after the data, but he has been in the game for a long time. And he is actually suggesting that we could see a follow-up cut in September as well. But you mentioned the FOMC. It's Super Wednesday, a lot happening tonight.
Sure is. FOMC, Bank of Canada, GDP, we've got Meta, we have Microsoft earnings to come. It is huge, and I thought here's one for you. I know you like your luxury goods. Hermes has just reported in Europe, because we forget that European reporting season is underway. Well, we were reminded last night when Novo Nordisk fell about 30%. Hermes has seen its sales rise, U.S. prices rising 5% more than elsewhere because of the tariffs, and Adidas, I say Adidas, it's Adidas, says that tariffs will add sorry, my computer just had a little incident. Will add $231 million to its costs in the second half. So starting to get a bit of color around those tariff costs as well.
Yeah, absolutely. My Labubu has an Hermes outfit, but I think it's fake. All right, let's have a look at the REITs, because the interest rate sector did very well today on these expectations of a rate cut in August, as did the banks. Let's have a look at where CBA is, $176.82.
So it was a technical special on the call today, and Commonwealth Bank was one of the companies featured. Michael Gable, Fairmont Equities, Gary Glover from Novus Capital. I think you'll want to have a listen to what they had to say about CBA. But yeah, $176.82.
All right, and looking at energy as well, particularly as we monitor this earthquake off Russia starting to really flow through to tsunami warnings as well. We're mentioning Hawaii, Japan, parts of New Zealand as well, but Woodside Energy, they're down by 0.4%. And a lot of earnings updates too today, Nadine, particularly in the materials sector.
Yeah, those production reports coming thick and fast this morning. MinRes saw a bit of a share price rise, 2.5%, after it met its full year production volume and cost guidance across mining services, iron ore and lithium to end the financial year. So I was reading some analysis, and one of the brokers actually just slipped my mind too, said, you know, the fourth quarter operationally was a good one for MinRes, which has been so troubled as of late.
Yep, PLS also rising. It guided higher production and lower costs in full year 26, shares up by 4% at the end of the day's trade.
IGO, wow, that's a big fall, close to 7% after it said operational issues continuing to impact its Kwinana lithium hydroxide refinery production. So production below guidance, and also booking an impairment of between $70 and $90 million likely.
And another stock going lower, Appen, down about 13%. So this was after a warning full year revenue, it says, tracking towards the low end of its guidance between $235 to $260 million. And that's due to ongoing uncertainty in the US AI market.
Yeah, that's an interesting note when you consider how powerful this AI fourth industrial revolution is going. I mean, there's lots of winners Appen out of this AI push, so don't know how that excuse flies. PolyNovo did really well, up by 8%. Earnings coming in between 11.2 and 12.4 million likely in FY25 compared to last year's 3.6 million. So they are selling.
And also we're watching this bidding war for PointsBet continuing. So late in afternoon trade, Better saying it will increase its all-scrip off-market takeover offer for PointsBet. Remember, PointsBet has said no thanks to Better. It wants the Mixi bid, but Better saying this is an actual more in favour of shareholders because 4.2 Better shares for every PointsBet share. They say that's better than the $1.20 offer from Mixi.
Yeah, you recall that Takeover Panels also issued an interim order preventing Better from sending its bidder statement, and offer document to shareholders. So a little bit of drama on the M&A front today. Let's see what Mark Gardner has to make of it all. He's joining us from MPC Markets. So, a lower than expected inflation read, baking in expectations for a rate cut next month. I mean, what's changed? We knew it was going to come eventually.
That's exactly what Michelle Bullock said, if we bothered to listen. Rate cuts are coming. We'll likely get one next month, if not almost certainly. The following month, I'm not entirely sure. I think they've obviously shown they're pretty happy to take their time. And I mean, there's still a lot to be done in Trump land, and with all the deals that aren't being done and being done, etc. I think Hermes 5%. I don't think that's a big deal for Hermes, is it?
I don't help them out anymore, even with the fake Labubu stuff.
But we've got obviously Mag 7 earnings over the next couple of nights. Apple, Amazon Thursday into Friday morning, and Microsoft Meta tonight. So
Apple having the most to prove out of those, right?
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of Apple. I think it's become a bit of a safe haven stock because it sits on that massive cash pile. They haven't been very innovative. They've been lagging in the they've been lagging in the AI race pretty badly actually, and just not seeming to care. There's not been a lot of update to much of their product lines, and given that massive war chest, they could be one BlackBerry moment away from heading very south. I would have thought, because really more than half of their revenues iPhones, and if you get a leap in technology in phones, they're going to have to massively scramble because it's been 15 years almost since they had something.
I was in a room full of managers yesterday, and I think it was off the record, but this person will remain nameless, saying, I'm through with Apple. I'm switching to iOS. That doesn't feel that they've been innovating in any way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's the wave. You can't be lazy for that long and sort of hold your ground. But I think they are sitting on $500 billion worth of cash, so they can certainly go. I'm really surprised they haven't tried to buy their way into AI so far. I mean, they've certainly had their opportunity. They've made Microsoft, which is normally sort of poked fun at for being fairly non-aggressive. They're making them look pretty aggressive. So. Be interested to see how Microsoft goes tonight. They've been it's one of the first earnings I've seen in quite a while where Microsoft's probably valued at the most premium of those sort of cloud, AWS, Google, etc. So I'm not, I think they're going to have to beat by a decent amount and to hold ground up here at the moment. So forward PEs are really high for Microsoft historically, and normally it's the Googles and the Amazons that demand a bit more of a premium. So be interesting to see what they come out with. But they have been the leaders so far. So we shall see.
We shall see. We've also got Rio Tinto coming through.
Yes, it would be in about 5 minutes' time, I believe. So hopefully those quarterly production updates were all fairly positive. Iron ore's been relatively positive. Copper's been pretty good, sitting at record highs. Even London Metal Exchange copper's been quite positive. So, and aluminium prices have been higher as well. So, I would, fingers crossed they throw a nice juicy dividend and we can sort of see that materials sector continue to keep its bid tone. Because there's not really a lot of other places you can grab too many dividends this earnings season with the banks so high at the moment.
We don't want to ask you again what you think about the banks, but we are kicking off reporting season. We've got ResMed as well on Friday. What are you looking out for mostly? Is it, the impact of tariffs? Is it the dividend outlook? What are you sort of doing control F to?
Stability, I think. Mm-hmm. I think the real winners will be the ones with the clearest outlook and no uncertainty. And that communicate to the shareholders really well, because if you think there's a lot of things have happened since the last time we had earnings, and AI is going at a breakneck speed as well. So I think for some of those companies, how they're adapting maybe some internal efficiencies with AI and bringing down costs. But I'm not sure whether it'll be a sort of reach for the stars growth prospects, because I think that that sort of prospect will get run over by a Trump announcement within 10 minutes. I think the ASX shareholders do value, a bit of that stability and that very clear path and communication. So that's what I'd be looking out for. ResMed's always very, very good at that, and I would expect their numbers to be, I dare say they'll beat, and because I don't think there's been any real tariff effects too much in those devices as yet. And if you need it, you need it. So
I think Mick Farrell says that to us all the time, doesn't he? And even when we first started hearing about GLP-1 drugs, he was like, obesity has nothing to do with whether or not you need a sleep apnea machine. And I can count it to somebody who is definitely not obese, who I will not name, who told me that they're using one. So it's, to his point, the demand for those machines is
And then once you
huge.
use them,
Yeah.
you're scared to not use it. My dad uses one. He travels with it now because it's his health. You're worried that your heart's going to give out if you're not using it.
Everyone laughed at Mick when he said it'll raise awareness of the condition, and it has.
Yeah.
So, that is the very rare thing that Apple has had a bit of innovation in, the sleep tracking device with ResMed, which was a good innovation. So,
Findi, sorry, totally switching. Findi small cap that I know that you've been following. You've liked it. It had an announcement that when you read it face value seemed pretty good. Why did it disappoint? Was it that revenue number?
I'm not entirely sure, and Findy's got a really good track record of surprising to the upside. Small caps have really lost. There's no sort of hot money in them lately, and you normally see a bit of a run, but really where we've seen runs in a lot of the small caps lately has been more to do with short positioning in the lithium or uranium, or Clarity Pharmaceuticals had that massive rally. It was shorted as well. But not seeing a great deal of flow. And the sad thing is that all of these companies are doing everything right. They're ticking all the boxes. Clarity did a sneaky cap raise just to friendly investors and institutions, which will get them well through their cash runway to get to revenue the other day. And it was fairly meh. So, but, the evidence just keeps stacking up for Findi overall. And I think once that listing goes on to the RSI in India, I think just a bigger market will just gobble up and give it some momentum, because if you put in Findi's stats on an Indian market screener, they are incredibly cheap. I think it's probably just a little bit of lack of understanding in Australia, or fear maybe not being based and domiciled here.
Yeah. All right, Mark. Thank you, Mark Gardner from MPC Markets. You were on the call talking about Findi.
It was the stock of the day, so I got a technical view from Michael Gable from Fairmont Equities and Gary Glover from Novus Capital.
But my concern is that, the slope of that triangle is the wrong way. Instead of sort of pointing upwards and the share price holding up at higher levels, it just seems to be down on the mat near, just under $4. So every time it rallies, it just ends up back at, the high threes again. So I don't find that very bullish, to be honest. If you get a breakout from here, then you follow it. So if it breaks, above the lines, then you could say, well, that's a buy. But I think if I was to get off the fence, I'd say there's probably more than a 50% chance that it'll break lower.
The plus is we are seeing that tightening pattern. So as opposed to the loosest for losers, we are seeing that tight pattern sort of setting up there, which is constructive. But I agree with Mike there. It is sort of downward sloping here at the moment. But the thing I don't like about it is the sort of the price action there. If you look deeper in the price action there, you're seeing that each sort of pullback, the volume's kind of up as well. So there has been a fair amount of selling each pullback there, and I think the market cap's about 245 mil.
So there you go. You can watch that extended I guess, stock of the day online, ausbiz.com.au, and a shout out to all of you who listen to this via podcast while you're walking your dogs. You won't be doing so in Sydney today. I don't think it's pretty wet out there.
Unless you're inside. All right, let's have a look at the market leaders. Polynovo we touched on today, one of the front runners, up 8%. West African Resources, PLS, we touched on as well. And Digico Infrastructure and Imdex having a good session too.
Yeah, looking good there. Not so much here. IGO, we told you why. Emerald Resources, Magellan, a bit of give back. It was one of the best performers. I think it was yesterday or Monday. Apologies. Block, a little bit of give back as well. It's been really in favor as of late. In fact, Mark Gardner, MPC Markets, had Block XYZ as one of his stock picks in our newsletter, the COB.
That's right. Let's have a look at the small caps. Speaking of Afterpay, we're looking at Before Pay, up almost 18%. Corvest Nova Minerals also looking good.
Yeah, Before Pay I think was out with a quarterly. There's Appen, so there you go. Ionic, rare earth, not iconic today, down by 9.5% to just 2 cents per share, and Freelancer off by 9% as well.
All right, a big night ahead. We talked about the Fed rate decision, the Bank of Canada as well, US economic growth and earnings from Rio, which should be shortly in London, Meta and Microsoft in the US.
Yeah, I think it's production from Rio. And Bank of Canada not expected to move, nor is the Fed. We'll bring you plenty of analysis right from the get-go tomorrow morning, including looking forward to hearing from Stephen Miller from GSFM, who'll be joining us at 10.
Yeah, indeed. All right, let's have a look at the day ahead. We're going to hear from Andrew Hauser speaking, also some trade prices for June, private sector credit, retail trade, which is the last one.
Final read on retail sales in its current form, coming from the ABS. And there's a bit of consternation out there because they will be doing the household spending index in its place, but it's not like for like, and some of the detail might be gone. And the household spending, I was just reading, Craig Wolford from MST Marquee was saying that if you compare what it's been saying against the retail trade most recently, it's always sort of above. It's always beating it. So something to keep in mind.
All right, we have got Rio Tinto's first half results coming through. 16% drop in first half underlying earnings. Iron ore prices remaining under pressure. The world's largest iron ore producer reporting underlying earnings of $4.8 billion for the 6 months compared to $5.75 billion a year earlier. So missing estimates. An interim dividend, that's what Mark was saying we needed to be watching out for, $1.48 per share for the first half. That was lower than $1.77 that it gave out last year. And Rio saying exploration and evaluation expense is expected to be slightly guided below $1 billion in 2025, but it remains on track to deliver strong midterm production growth. So there you go, first half profit down 16%.
Interesting. I'm just doing a Control F5 for the special divvy.
And we'll just have a look as Nadine is doing that. We are looking there in terms of the overall market. CBO 200 up by 0.7%. So not quite hitting a record. The ASX 200, I think, a similar gain today. We were on watch for, of course, a record, but it just hasn't quite come through. The ASX up 52.6%, 8,756.
Cool. All right. So we've got that Rio news. I stand corrected. I thought it was production, and I'm seeing production on the ASX, but we will bring you full analysis of that detail coming from Rio Tinto when we regroup tomorrow, 9:45 a.m. We're live.
See you then.